Mr. Speaker, the person who wrote and submitted all the reports to the Minister of National Security, who was also a part of the new flying squad, was once the accountant for Mr. Abood of Downtown Owners and Merchants Association. He is now working at SWAT Estate Police doing accounts. I understand, Mr. Speaker, when the story came out, he was fired from SWAT and then rehired in order for him to keep his mouth shut and not leak any information that was written for submission to the Minister of National Security, who is on record stating that he never received any report from the new flying squad. Where are the reports on the activities of the new flying squad? This reminds me of the fire truck expenditure. Work first without approval and then pay. And that's the reason why the members of the new flying squad are now expecting to be paid, because they were given promises, Mr. Speaker.
And they didn't pay them?
They have not been paid. No one has been paid. And we are waiting to find out if the fire truck payments were made. Mr. Speaker, I just want to quote from the UNC's manifesto under law enforcement, where it stated that, and I quote, "We will establish a national security operational center involving use of technology to set up a real-time centralized system for tracking crime," end of quote. Mr. Speaker, this office, the National Security Operational Center, was indeed set up.
Okay. Honourable Member, the speaking time of the Honourable Member for Laventille East mover has expired.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the speaking time of the Honourable Member for Laventille East Movant be extended by a further 30 minutes.
Honourable Member, the question is that the speaking time of the Honourable Member for Laventille East Movant be extended by a further 30 minutes. All in favour say aye. Aye. All in favour say aye.
None.
Any against? The ayes have it. The speaking time of the Honourable Member for Laventille East Movant is extended by 30 minutes. You may continue, Honourable Member.
Mr. Speaker, I was speaking about the National Security Operational Center, which, quoted in the UNC's manifesto, was set up supposed to be set up to use technology in a real-time centralized system for tracking crime. And the office was indeed set up, headed by Mr. Hira. And what I saw in the manifesto, of course, is not what the unit is being used for now. This unit was being used to facilitate the new flying squad. And Mr. Speaker, the government continues to try to fool the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Hira acknowledged his role, yet the then Minister of National Security and the Prime Minister knew nothing about it. Where in the budget was the money for the new flying squad? Mr. Speaker, could you protect me, please? Because I can't, I'm tired and everything else, and
No, you have my full protection. Continue, Honourable Member.
Thank you. Protect me from my own. Mr. Speaker, where in the budget was the money for the new flying squad? Is there money in this supplementation of the appropriation for fiscal year 2013 to pay them? We need answers to these questions, Mr. Minister. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the government has failed with regards to crime. And I just want to point out, that there are over 14 miles of unprotected seacoast between Point Radix and Point Galiota. Many other areas are unprotected, so guns and drugs can come in freely. Of course, I must go back to the OPVs. They would have protected our borders. The 3 offshore patrol vessels would have assisted greatly in stemming the flow of guns and drugs into our country and the region. And the airships would have provided continuous surveillance, aerial surveillance. The government destroyed our drug detection capabilities, our ability to intercept drug shipments on the high seas. The government's crime plan, Mr. Speaker, was a state of emergency and soldier police. What will they come up with next? The government has discriminated against certain sectors of the society. Many of the ministers have concentrated on UNC-led coalition constituencies and have neglected PNM constituencies and the East-West corridor. For example, I'm sorry the member for Davide O'Meara is not here. The Mova Recreation Ground and Coconut Drive Recreation Ground, that has been neglected. Mr. Speaker, how many grounds have been refurbished in Davide O'Meara? I understand it's about 7.
None in Laventille?
None in Laventille. All right, and we're supposed to be serious about crime. But in Davide O'Meara area alone, 7 recreation grounds were refurbished. Okay, none in Laventille, but we're serious about crime, you know?
That is equity.
Speaker, from 2010 to now, I am only getting promises from the Minister of Sport. So I would like to name him the most promising minister. Mr. Speaker, Malabar FC is getting regular assistance, which is based in his constituency, and many of our other sporting groups like Mova Jets and so on, suffering. The Mova Community Center, the first in the Caribbean, and up to now, cannot be built. I am still waiting on a date from the Minister of Community Development. The member for Couva North spoke about the rivers and so on. We got a listing of all the rivers, and I wrote numerous times concerning the Manripo, Malik, and Mova rivers, and we are still awaiting assistance. Well, today I walked with copies of my letters, and I gave them to her, Mr. Speaker. The Early Childhood Center in Coconut Drive, Mova, which was completed in 2010, is yet to be opened. Why are Mova residents being punished? Mr. Speaker, many persons were wantonly and recklessly thrown on the breadline by this government on the spurious grounds of restructuring and reorganizing. Always ominous words when used by them, violating the constitutional rights of citizens of this country to join political parties of their choice. Mr. Speaker, this government cannot run this country. Their response to all the wrongdoing is to blame the PNM. For example, the Member of Parliament, our last speaker for Couva North, is to blame the PNM or to insult, attack, send reaction to the call letters, and buy out talk show hosts. That's their reactions. How long can we endure this? How long will this continue? Mr. Speaker, I want to quote from the UNC manifesto again under the heading, Attacking Crime and Nurturing Humanity. And it states, I quote, "The current government neither has the will nor the competence to deal with the lawlessness and indiscipline pervading our society, and which feeds the environment within which crime flourishes. The current situation speaks to a moral decay that now pervades the society, propelled by a corrupt and ineffective leadership." End of quote. Doesn't this sound like what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago? No? Was this a prophetic statement, or that person had a crystal ball? Who wrote this? This is exactly what is taking place today under the leadership of the Member of Parliament for Siparia, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Speaker, anyone reading or hearing this statement will have no hesitation in being totally convinced that these remarks are targeted at what is left to survive as a People's Partnership government. And this is painfully representative of what we have been enduring since May the 24th, 2010. So, Mr. Speaker, today, this UNC-led coalition government stands in the docks, accused and charged with the heinous crime of failing to deliver in any meaningful way on the promise which they had so studiously and connivingly concocted. This government came into office against a background which sought to convince the population that the remedy for arresting the spate of crime and lawlessness was in their proverbial back pocket. Today, 3 years later, there was one state of emergency, thousands of young men deprived of their freedom for reasons yet to be explained, a select number of Muslims arrested for an alleged and unfounded ploy to assassinate the Prime Minister and freed just as expeditiously as they were hounded, 2 failed ministers of national security, and a current one groping in the dark and grasping at straws, 2 fired ministers in the Ministry of National Security, an enhanced National Security Council, a police service gasping for breath, an attempt to proclaim legislation under a cloud of betrayal, a bill to make soldiers police, attacks on the media, a new flying squad that they don't know about, Calamity, Carl, Reshmi, a fire tanker scandal with everybody passing the buck. So, Mr. Speaker, after 3 years, and after all these atrocities, sad to say, the alarming space of crime and lawlessness in our beloved country still beckons, unchecked, unabated, and uncalled for. So, Mr. Speaker, we are not seeing or getting value for our money in the hands of this government. Yet, they are here seeking another $3 billion for them to squander. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.